From education to the Port of Georgetown, I sit down exclusively with State Representative Lee Hewitt for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview Thursday on iHeartRadio. Representative Lee Hewitt, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, good to see you again.
Likewise. I'm here in Columbia doing a couple of interviews today, and I obviously called your office yesterday because there's a lot to talk about, obviously, in your district.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on in our district, not just in the district, but around the state.
What issue concerns you the most?
Well, certainly, as we're starting this legislative session, I hope we're going to deal with education.
Okay.
That bill's in the Senate. We're not sure what's going to come back out of the Senate, but we're waiting on that. Of course, we've got the budget. We had a surplus of $1.8 billion. State agencies have requested an additional $2.8 billion in spending. So we've got to sort through that, looking forward to that debate. And then we've got Santee Cooper. So we're still waiting on the reports to come back on the three options with that. And, also there's over 1,000 bills that are filed. So between now and mid-May when we get out, we've got a lot to do.
Let me stay on education.
Okay.
What is the state of education in South Carolina right now, as you know it?
Well, the state of education is poor. I mean, we rank last in educating our kids, and we owe it to our kids to educate them. A lot of topics that we've got to get into is, teacher Bill of Rights, basically allowing teachers to teach our kids, eliminating a lot of the state mandated testing that's involved, pay for teachers. In the budget coming up, there's an additional increase. It's going to put us in the top, hopefully 25% nationwide of teacher pay that's involved with that. But, when I talk to a lot of teachers, they appreciate the pay, but they want to be able to teach. They just want to get the administrators, a lot of the rules that hamper them from doing their job out of the way and let them teach kids to read. We owe it to our kids to teach them how to read, the basics, to get them prepared for life.
Those regulations, which one of those are hindering the teachers the most that you're hearing about?
Mostly what I hear about are the mandated things, tests that are mandated that they do that takes away from time to teach. But yet they never see the results from those tests. And those tests are just mandated by the state that really don't direct themselves to the curriculum.
Okay.
So they want to teach the curriculum that is laid out and test the curriculum that they're testing. And know that their kids are learning and being educated to the level of which they need to be.
And you talk obviously about the elimination of state testing that many people want.
Yeah.
How much would that say to the state of South Carolina in your mind?
Yeah, I've heard different numbers. I haven't seen the final numbers from the Office of Fiscal Affairs because we really don't have a bill yet. I mean, it's in the Senate. And the Senate's been debating, and here we are on week 3.
Right.
Last I heard, they were on the 9th Amendment. And there's 100 amendments that are out there. So, what's that dollar amount? What comes out? I'm not sure. We, as the House, have decided that maybe the bill is too big. We sent a bill over that's 84 pages. The Senate's got it down to around 70.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down to about 9 different subjects, and that's in the Education Committee now. So, I know we're going to be taking up a testing bill today.
Okay.
And we'll see there's some amendments coming up on that. But, hopefully after that, we'll get a teacher bill of rights. We'll see that big omnibus bill broken down in about 9 different bills. And hopefully we can tackle this one bite at a time.
And you talk about those subjects. What are those subjects right now?
Well, I mean, it's talking about as far as education.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, teacher pay, teacher pension contributions, statewide testing, school start-stop date, or some of the big things. School consolidation.
Oh, yeah.
About that. That's a big subject that is very controversial, especially among the school districts.
Right.
About consolidating some of these schools that are failing the students. So those are really the big ones that I hope that we can tackle this year.
Let me go back to the testing, because obviously, again, everybody was on board of really eliminating state testing. What would you replace that with?
Well, I mean, you have mandated federal testing that's already in there, but you have the curriculum testing that's that's put in place by the teachers and the school district.
Right.
What we need to allow the school teachers to teach and to test and be able to say, okay, the kids are getting what you're teaching. They're proficient on this. Not a state test that comes in that might not have anything to do with what's on the curriculum. And then they take days out of their schedule to do the testing, and then they send the test off, and the results are never sent back. They just kind of disappear with the state school. So, whether in history, but it's not to eliminate testing. That's what a lot of people get confused. Like, oh, well, you're going to test the kids? Well, how will you know? No, get it to the curriculum. Get it to the teachers in their classroom where they know what they're teaching.
And let me go back to the pension system. How satisfied are you with that right now?
Well, that's another big issue in that we're billions of dollars behind in our pension. There is a pension study committee that is made up of senators and House reps, and they are working on it. We passed some things last year that supposedly are making things better. I haven't seen that report, but that's something that we've got to look at and continue to monitor because, while as a state, our debt is not very high, we've got surplus funds, unlike North Carolina and Georgia. Things are good in South Carolina. We've got 70,000 jobs that haven't been filled. A lot of those are in the Charleston area, which are tech jobs. So things are really good in South Carolina. Well, while they're good, we need to be making these tough decisions and work on the pension system. In my opinion, I think we ought to go to a defined contribution system versus a defined benefit, which is what we have now. So defined contribution will be similar to what private employers have. You can choose 5, 10, 15% of your pay, put it into an account. The state will match it, whether it's 3 or 5%. Then, so and the governor's proposed that in the State of the Union so that, we know what our liability is there. And then those can be some self-directed accounts.
Now, I got to talk about the money again.
Okay.
How much would that cost the state?
Well, that would cost the state just what a level we agreed to contribute. So it depends on what the state employees decide that they want to. So if everybody said they want to contribute 15%, so whatever the overall salary for those in the state pension system, the state would match 3% of that or 5%, whatever we decide is the right number. So that's better than having a pension system where we're guaranteeing somebody we're going to pay match 60% of their salary once they retire, or 70%, for as long as they're alive. So that defined contribution, you don't know how much that's going to cost you. As people live longer, health care gets better, which is great. That's what you want to do. But so with the defined contribution, you would know how to budget for that. And once that contribution was made, then your liability would have been satisfied.
And let me stay on, obviously, the surplus and talk about another topic, the Port of Georgetown. Regarding the $1.8 billion surplus in state's budget, what should be the priority right now in your mind?
Well, certainly education. But everybody's talking about education right now. Let's talk about our prison system. We've got a prison system that was outlined. Post-Security did an excellent article on that. We've got riots happening in Lee Correctional Institute. Well, guards got caught because our locking system is outdated because we have to go by each individual cell and lock it versus being able to flip a switch with somebody in a cage. We have prisoners guarding guards, trying to protect our guards who were caught when the riot broke out. So when you look at the ratio of prisoners to the guards that you have, realizing that that's not a safe situation as it is, then we've got a starting salary of $30,000. What's the incentive to go work in a prison system where you could be under threat all the time for starting at $30,000 a year? If somebody's going to get in there, they're going to realize, hey, this isn't safe. I don't need to be here. They're going to leave. So your turnover rate's going to be high. So we need to address, our prison systems is important to me as well. Just to throw out another subject for you besides education.
And you talk about obviously that turnover rate. What is it at right now?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact ratio right now, but it's almost like one guard for about 40 prisoners in there. So, they're very understaffed. They do a great job. My suite mate in here is on that Ways and Means Committee, and they're going through those numbers now. But, he and I were just talking about this a little while ago. It could be about $100 million needs to go in one-time funding just to bring the prisons up to, today's standards.
And what would that cost that new system that's really right now outdated?
I mean, it's about $100 million
altogether.
Yeah, to bring it up is the numbers that they've got right now to bring it up. But then, you've still got cell phones being smuggled in.
Right.
And that's the thing is you got a guard making $30,000 a year, and then after taxes, what they're making. Right. And then all of a sudden, you realize that you can bring a cell phone in and sell it for $1,000. So you've got people catapulting them over the fences. Right. You got them drugs. Yeah. You got all this stuff that's going on. So netting around the prisons to prevent that. It's just there's a lot of things happening with our prison systems that we need to address.
And let me go back to my beloved Georgetown, because obviously there's a talk about the dredging the Georgetown Harbor. How would you support funds for that?
Well, we need, first of all, they're trying to develop a plan, about how much it's going to cost to dredge. But what's important to me is, the maintenance dredging. How are you going to continue to support the port as it goes? Because you're going to continue to dredge. And I've talked to the State Ports Authority about it. And and it's been a couple of years, but roughly it's about $1 per ton is what they get for maintenance dredging on the tonnage, where the most Georgetown County has ever done is around 1 million tons. Right. So when you're talking about an initial dredge of, I've heard numbers from 35 to 125 million to do the initial dredging. And there's no tonnage coming in now. So, what is it going to cost to continue to dredge the port, to make sure it stays viable? So how many tons do we have to get it to? And then how much is it going to cost to upfit the port to be able to handle that? Is it 5 million tons? Is it 10 million tons? And so what is the overall cost? It's just not the cost of the initial dredge.
Okay.
You've got to dredge it, you've got to maintain it, and then you've got to put in the infrastructure.
Sure.
So is there enough, because it will be a shallow depth port, is there enough tonnage available in order to support that? And if it is, I'm 100% behind it. But before we go out and spend money and tell our citizens of South Carolina this is how we need to spend their money, we need to make sure it's viable. Because Charleston's port certainly is growing. Sure. They're getting ready to open the Leatherman Terminal. Right. You've got Jasper Port down the way. So, what is viable? Where are the dollars best spent? And hopefully those studies will show Georgetown's a viable port. I would love to see it. It would be great for Georgetown. Hopefully the studies that are underway will get us there.
Where is the infrastructure?
As far as...
for Georgetown.
For Georgetown, we don't have an interstate highway coming in. You have to come in on 521, or you come in on 17. Would love to have an interstate coming into Georgetown. That has been stopped. So that, in fact, I-73 at one time was going to come into Georgetown. Right. That's been shoved all the way up to the north end, and now that's being fought. The Southern Evacuation Lifeline, which would be a bridge that crosses the waterway, would be another big boost, because right now, not only are we evacuating Georgetown through the city of Georgetown, we're also evacuating Horry County. The southern part of Horry County has to come through. Right. So, the road situation in Georgetown, hopefully the Andrews bypass will get that fixed. But, infrastructure as far as roads is poor.
Where is this plan? And how soon can we expect it?
The
maintenance plan.
The dredging, it's ongoing now. Coastal Carolina is working on a plan. And they had a meeting last week. Unfortunately, we were up in session. I wasn't able to attend. But I know they're working on looking for alternative ways to lower the cost of dredging. We've got some money in the budget for Georgetown that's already been set aside up here on the state level. The county has some money left over from 1 cent local option sales tax. We've got another local option sales tax that's going to be on the referendum next November. and Tom Rice's office,
Right.
the several congressional,
Right.
has been working with some federal dollars
Okay.
and the Army Corps of Engineers to get that. So there are a lot of different people working on it between the city and the county and the federal government, and hopefully we'll see some results soon that can hopefully give us a green light or some a pathway forward. Right now we just don't have it.
And when will those RFPs begin?
Well, I mean, there's not a plan.
Okay.
So we've got to come up with a plan that Coastal's working on.
Okay.
And then you've got to get the State Ports Authority to review the plan.
Okay.
I mean, so is it a year? Is it 2? Is it 3 years away? I'm not sure.
Okay. And I know you have to go run downstairs to the State House, so
Yeah, we go into session here in a few minutes, but that's okay. I'll take all the time you need. But we appreciate you stopping by, and always good to see you.
Likewise, and welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups,
Well,
Representative Hewitt.
Well, thank you, Quintin. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime.